Whether you're 8 years old, 8 months old, or 80 years old, you deserve to have a quality of life and do the things that you love. That is the story of today's podcast, where an older man was wanting to still be able to climb the bleachers and sit and watch his son play baseball. And as a bonus, what if he got his golf game back? We also talk about the definition of a subluxation, what chiropractors actually do, what is their scope of practice, and a really cool new way of sharing stories and information in a reader-friendly digital way. I'm Jenna Quinton, founder of Adjust Your Media and host of today's podcast. Thanks for joining me. Today on What Chiropractic Doesn't Cure, Stories of Innate, I have Dr. George Auger. He practices in Greenville, South Carolina, though he's originally from New Jersey. So welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So I want to tell people a little bit more about you. So you're an assistant professor at Sherman College. Tell us what you teach there.
I teach spinal biodynamics, which is how the spine mechanically functions, as well as how it moves, how it reacts to different stresses and forces. Having been an engineer, it's a very engineering type course, which I tend to love. So.
Yes. Well, I think it's a really cool topic and a really important one. How great that you can share that with students from an engineering background.
Yeah, and the reality also is that particular class, everything that they learn technique-wise from that point forward is going to have some basis in the class that I teach. So I love teaching it, but I take it very serious because I want them to have a great foundation as they learn how to analyze and adjust the spine.
Yes. So I think that that's a really cool point for anyone who's not a chiropractor to understand that students are getting that level of anatomy and biomechanics in schools. You're also a founding member of the Palmetto State Chiropractic Association and a chairman of the board. So I love that you're in the chiropractic community in so many ways while you're still in practice. That's really cool.
You know, I didn't plan on that being the case when I got out of school, but I just kind of fell into these different positions and things. And, you know, and I'm kind of a type A personality. So if it needs to get done, I'll do it. So that's just kind of how it works.
Wonderful. Okay, so tell us a story. Let's get into somebody who got better under chiropractic care, and how did chiropractic help their body to heal itself innately?
You know, there's so many stories. You know, I've been in practice over 31 years, so believe me, I've got a lot. And they're all different types of stories. People who organically got better, you know, their blood pressure normalized, their heart rate, their AFib came back to normal rhythm after adjusting when nothing else, even ablation didn't help them. But the things that I love most, and it doesn't matter whether it's one of those or even a musculoskeletal type of improvement, I love when people get their quality of life back. When they're able to do whatever's keeping them from doing what they want to do. Like a guy that just comes to mind is a guy that just started care recently. He's pushing 80. He loves to golf. He can barely walk. His son is a baseball coach. He loves to go watch his son's team play. He can't get up the stairs in the stands. He can't sit in the stands for any length of time. But the things he loves to do, he can't do. And so he came to me and he said, you know, I want to be able to do the things I love to do. I told him the chiropractic story. I told him what we do. We analyze the spine, we locate, analyze, correct this thing called vertebral subluxation. I explained to him what a vertebral subluxation was, how it impacts his quality of life in many ways. And we started to work with him. Within a couple of months, he's sitting in the bleachers watching his son's teams play baseball. He almost cried. Well, no, he didn't almost cry. He teared up when he was telling me he was able to play golf for the first time in years. And now we set a goal to have him shoot his age, but I don't know where we're going to get to that point. But anyway, those are the types that I love. I don't care whether it's a musculoskeletal condition. I don't care whether it's a cardiovascular or digestive thing that's keeping people from, you know, when we analyze and adjust the spine, the body better regulates itself.
Yes.
It better functions, it better heals. I don't treat X, Y, and Z, but what I do affects X, Y, and Z. And I love when people's quality of life improves.
Yes, that is so true, that it is so unique and personalized as well, because maybe somebody else's health goal wouldn't be sitting in bleachers, but to be able to help their body to reach its potential to do what it normally wants to do so that
Pick
they
up their
can do what they love.
grandchildren. right? Pick up
Yeah.
their grandchildren, pick up the kids. I mean, people come in, I just want to put my socks on. I haven't put my socks on in 15 years. It's just, now I'm having trouble putting my pants on, I mean, it doesn't have to be, somebody was blind and they see, somebody was
Exactly.
deaf and they hear, those things actually, happen to one degree or another. But it's just I just love improving people's qualities of their
Yes.
lives.
And I feel like those are the miracles that get overlooked, but those are the miracles that we should expect to not undervalue. Like that is a miracle in that person's life.
Absolutely. In that person's life, well said, Jenna. In that person's life, this is a miracle, a blessing, something that they're
Mm.
just so thrilled about and so grateful for. That's me. When I hear stories, and I hear them all the time of these things happening, it just blesses me.
Yes. So you said the word subluxation, and I want to highlight that. When you explain what a subluxation is, what do you tell patients?
Of course, as a chiropractor, we can go into real depth explanation about what subluxation is and all the
Mhm.
physiological impacts that it has. And I tend to take the KISS method, keep it
Yeah.
simple, stupid. so,
Yeah.
and that's not stupid the patient, that's stupid me. So I'm going to, just boil it down to real simple. I say, listen, the way God wired your body is that your brain controls everything your body does. Every movement you make, every heartbeat that you take, every breath that you take is regulated and controlled by your nervous system. And the brain is like the CPU. It's the one that controls everything. And it sits up here, and I literally point to it. And all those
Mhm.
things I just talk about sit below the shoulders. So how does the brain that's encased in this thick skull, mine is thicker than most, the thick skull, how does the brain communicate the instructions and get input back from the body to the brain? How does that happen? And it's the nervous system. It's information traveling over the nervous system. And it just so happens that the majority of your nervous system goes through your spine. So spinal alignment can either allow for good nerve flow, or if there's a misalignment in there, it could obstruct the nerve flow, and then things start to degenerate from that point. Things start to malfunction. That misalignment in the spine that obstructs or interferes with that nerve flow, that's called a subluxation. And that's what we want to do. The biggest thing I can do as a chiropractor is not get you feeling better. Okay. Although everybody wants that, and I want that for you, but
Sure.
that's not the biggest thing. The biggest thing that I do as a chiropractor is locate those areas in the spine that are obstructing nerve flow, altering nerve flow, and start the process of removing that as best as I can, so that as much nerve flow can return through your body, and your body can once again start to function at a level that it hasn't seen in years, probably. And that's how I explain it.
I love that. That's a really good way. So, we had shared before that you've been in chiropractic for a long time. You had said that your uncle graduated chiropractic
Correct.
college. And
Yes.
so, you were how old when you had your first spinal checkup?
I was 3 years old. So we're
Awesome.
going back. I'm going to give you my age now if you can do the math. Okay. So we're going back 56 years. I've been under chiropractic care for 56 years.
Awesome. So, nearly 60 years of life and most of them under chiropractic care. That's
Yes.
awesome. So,
Yeah.
tell us then, how did you become a chiropractor from that point of being checked so little? How did that journey go?
Well, it's not a miraculous story. Like a lot of people will have a miraculous something like the patient I was telling you about. I'm going to chiropractic college because of it. I was
Yeah.
under chiropractic care my whole life. And my uncle, to his credit, never really just kind of hammered me. You would be a great chiropractor. He said it one time.
Mhm.
One time, he just said,
Yeah.
George, I think you'd be a great chiropractor. And that was it. And that stuck in my mind. Right.
Yeah.
So when I went away to college, I just have an aptitude for the sciences, mathematics, things like that. That just seemed that's my DNA. And I was undecided. I didn't know if I was going to be an engineer or go for chiropractic. At that time in the early 80s, engineers were coming out in 4 years. They were making nice money. It was a
Mhm.
nice job. I liked engineering. I liked math. I liked science. So after the first year of undecided, I decided to go into engineering. So I worked my way through school. Now I was on a football scholarship, so I played football in college. And I was away from my uncle for the first time, and I wasn't getting adjusted. And I noticed that in my back of my mind that, there was a lot of things going on in my life that I've never experienced before. And I
Mhm.
wonder if it's because I'm not getting adjusted,
And
more colds.
you were under significant stress if you're studying and working and playing football. That's a lot of different
Physical and
stressors.
emotional stress. Yeah, I never did drugs or anything like that, so no chemical drug. But believe me, in the football realm, steroids were all around. So
Wow.
never had the opportunity. I had the opportunity. I never did it. So I
Mhm.
didn't have any additional chemical stress on that part. But there was definitely more physical and emotional, mental stress. I was going to bed at 2 o'clock. We practiced from 6 until actually 3. I'm sorry, 3 until 9 was all the practice, the meetings, the eating, the dinner, all of that was 6 hours a day, 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. And then at 9, I'd go home and I'd study until 2. I'd get up in the morning and at 8 or 7:30, get to class at 8. So it was physically very demanding. And my health suffered. I was getting colds. I was getting all these things were happening. But I decided to be an engineer, so that's what I did. And I got my degree and I got a job, and I was living in the same town I grew up with. So I started under care with my uncle again, and guess what happened? My health improved. I wasn't
Exactly.
getting the stressors were gone, the chiropractic was there, the whole thing. And so after about 3 years, I'm thinking to myself, my company wants me to get my master's in electrical engineering. I'm going to go for option number 2. I'm going back to chiropractic college. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up here.
Yeah, well, I love the point that you made that your uncle said it to you one time. And I think that that is so key when we think about the times when we can speak life to somebody and that's all it takes. So, you never know how far reaching something you think, say, or do, that's a BJ Palmer quote, will affect the lives of millions. And sometimes it does. It just takes that one time of someone saying, even something like, my niece has a lot of ear infections. I think my chiropractor could help. Here's his phone number. We never know how far reaching that will go when someone, like, I was 16 and one of my parents' friends called me a writer and he was like, "Oh yeah, you're a writer."
Mm.
And it only took that one time of him encouraging me to be like, "Oh, I could do this." So I love that point, but I love too that you have this background in engineering and science. I think sometimes people think that chiropractors, they say, "Oh, are they really doctors and things?" And they don't understand that you have, we call it the three-footed stool of science, art, and philosophy. And that you come from this engineering background is just an awesome thing for people to understand
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, it's interesting you should say that because over the course of my career, I've heard that joke. You got your degree from the Cracker Jack box. It was out of that. People have actually said that to me.
Yeah.
Like no shame, no nothing, just send it to me. I'm like, well, I said, listen. By the way, I love doing this. I'm like, by the way, I have actually 4 degrees. I have a degree in electrical engineering, a degree in mathematics, a degree in computer science, and my chiropractic degree. And then
Mhm.
I tell them, I said, and by the way, my chiropractic degree was the most rigorous of all 4 of them. So I'm not sure where you're getting your information from.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that usually shuts them up real quick.
Well, and just the idea that those degrees fit together, because even like my neon is flickering. And what would we think about the neon? Like, oh, maybe there's not a solid connection. Maybe there is something that is not working quite
Right?
correctly.
Some kind of short, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a short, but from an electrical point of view, we understand things and we don't know that that is a great analogy for what is happening in the body.
Yeah.
Even though clearly there's a chemical aspect to neurotransmitters and things.
Yeah. Look at that. Look at go girl. All right. Very good. You know your stuff. You did,
Well, okay.
you
So
did good in my class.
my husband went through paramedic school and so he was like, "Here, watch this YouTube on kidneys." And I'm falling asleep going, "Okay, so what is going on with kidneys?" And so yeah,
He made
it
you do
helps.
that, huh?
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. It helped that he nerds out about things in the body and I love to talk to people and learn things. So yeah, that neon, I'm going to turn it off because now it's really
Okay, go ahead.
bugging me.
See, that's not a subluxation, that's death.
Yep.
In the body, if there's no flow of nerve information, you're dead. I mean,
Yeah.
now subluxation doesn't cut it all the way off. It's like a dimmer switch, right? It's like a dimmer switch. It slowly but surely dims that light of life that we have. There's another now. I'm the king of it now. I love analogies because that's how people that's how people learn. That's how people retain, is
Yes.
through that. So.
Well, speaking of learning, I also want to get into the fact that you love to share stories and teach people and educate people so much that you've launched a new way to do that with chiropractic digital brochures, which is just a genius idea. When I met you in Florida and saw what you were doing, I was like, this is genius. This is exactly what the world needs. So tell us about these digital brochures.
Well, thank you for, I don't consider that genius, but I thank you for that kind words. So, bottom line is when you read my mission statement, it's to glorify God by educating, evaluating, and adjusting. So there's three things: educating, then I evaluate people, then I adjust them where needed. That is what my office is all about. So education has always been a huge part of what we do in my practice. And it's why I built a large practice like I have, is because I've taken the time, the energy, and the effort to educate. And there's many ways of educating, but one of the ways we used to educate was by using different brochures. They would sit in racks and people would grab them, read them, take them for friends. I started practicing before there wasn't internet. Okay, so just FYI, there was no email when I was starting practice. So everything was paper. And what I've noticed over the last 10, 15 years is people don't want to read long, wordy dissertations about things.
True.
They want short, sweet, to the point. They like visual. They don't like a lot of words. The minute they open something up, too much words, they put it down. They didn't want to read it. I also noticed that people with good intentions would take something from my office to give to a prospective patient, practice member, whatever you want to call them, to bring them in as a new patient. And they would never get there.
Yeah.
They get lost. They didn't see the person when they thought they were going to see the person to give it to them, and it gets lost.
Yeah.
And so one of the many facets within my practice for educating was useless. And I thought, I'm going to fix that problem. You see a problem, you fix a problem, right? So I came up with the idea of digital brochures. Now, interestingly enough, what really spurred this on was COVID.
Yeah.
And, COVID, a lot of bad things. But if there's one good thing for me, it gave me a medium of which to do this, and that is QR codes. Because QR codes became more of a thing during COVID.
Yes, definitely.
Menus and different stuff that we had to do. And I thought, that's how we can do it. We can have a patient scan a QR code on a topic, and then it would be on their phone. And what I noticed was everybody's on their phone in my office with their head down. Not everybody, but a lot of people are.
A lot,
They're checking email, checking texting, watching Facebook, whatever, waiting for their checkup and their adjustment. And so I thought, well, put it on their phone. And then I thought, wow, wait a minute. When I put it on their phone, you can actually just text it to somebody and they don't have to carry anything to anybody. They could do it right there in the office. I mean, it could be 100% delivery rate,
Yes.
because it goes from their phone to their friend's phone, whether email or text.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to brainstorm with a friend of mine who's a developer. And we came up with the idea and we implemented it. We came up with what's called chiropractic digital brochures. And we have right now an offering of 33 different topics. If you have a little philosophical bent to you, you'll know there's 33 principles in chiropractic. But,
Yes.
I'd love to tell you it just kind of happened that way, but maybe it didn't just happen that way. Maybe I kind of did that.
Oh, yeah.
But in any case, they're branded to each individual office, right? So that, I obviously the initial one was branded to me because I did it for me. And then I realized, we need to create something that other offices can use. They're not going to want to use something with my logo, my phone number, my website address on there. They're going to want something with their stuff. So we created a model which we could do that and brand it to each individual office. And the other cool thing about it is they become interactive now. It's not just a piece of paper. You can click on links and go to different places. And, it just kind of evolved into what it is today.
Yeah, well, I do think that you hit a lot of the obstacles between where, like every woman is going to put that paper brochure into the bottom of her purse, along with the cough drops and all of the hair ties and all of the things that are rolling around in there, and it's never going to be seen again. Or then when she does pull it out, it's going to be all crumpled.
Right.
She's going to be like, oh man, I'm not going to give this to my friend now. So that you thought through all of those obstacles, you looked at what was trending and available with the QR codes to make it really accessible. Because I tell doctors that all the time. When someone shares your content, that's a referral. And so someone sharing this valuable information where, like you said, you make it reader friendly, not just giant blocks of text,
Right.
not heavy medical terms or anatomy terms where it's like my patella, what, I know I studied that, but I'm not going to remember right off the top of my head that that's my knee, so making it really simple and accessible and reader friendly and visually appealing. I think that that is just hitting so many points. But also, as a chiropractor who loves the philosophy of chiropractic, I love that you made these really pointed to what people would need. So when it is an easy entry point to say, I have headaches, I have fibromyalgia, my baby has colic, these things where people would say, oh, this is what I know I'm looking for. And I appreciate that you did it in that sense as well. So yeah, tell us some of the other topics that you have.
Oh my goodness. So we broke it up into 3 different sections. One of the first section that I wrote were the wellness brochures. Okay. So these are things on topics like aging with grace, pregnancy, balance, fertility, things like that, general wellness, sickness versus disease. What's the pros and cons, or reactive versus proactive? What's the pros and cons to that? So these were more, wellness type topics. Then I got into what I call the non-musculoskeletal type topics. So that's where we're talking about the colic and the asthma and allergies and things that aren't related to the musculoskeletal system in people's, minds. And then I did your traditional musculoskeletal, your neck pain, your back pain, your shoulder pain, your brains and headaches. And
Perfect.
Yeah. So that's how I broke it down. That's how I kind of wrote it and went through it. One of the common themes in all of these is, what is chiropractic? It is a panel in the brochure, if you will, that I put in almost every brochure where it's applicable, because I want people to understand what chiropractic is. And it's not a treatment for X, Y, or Z, even though you're picking up the colic brochure. It's not a treatment for colic.
Yeah.
It is the location, analysis, and correction of verbal subluxation. And this is why, and this is how, and this it affects you or your child, and this is why you would want to get checked for it.
I love that you broke it up too, because when I talk to doctors from different places that have different restrictions on their scope of practice and things, then it makes it that there are brochures available for them in their area where they could just focus on things that are within their scope and not get into any dicey situations with talking about things that are outside of that. So
and it's scope would be more of a legal term. I'll just say their philosophical approach. Some people don't want to talk about neck pain, back pain. That's just not who they are. That's they don't want to talk to that crowd. So I didn't want it to be an all or nothing. I wanted to give them an opportunity to say, hey, all right, then just get the wellness package, and or the wellness and the non-musculoskeletal.
wonderful.
And that's exactly why I did it, because I know there's a spectrum of how people practice in chiropractic and what they want to draw into their offices. So I wanted to make it accessible for everyone.
It's really smart, and it really is, again, yes, speaking to helping more people to access chiropractic care, helping chiropractors to access more people who need chiropractic care.
Right.
So I love that.
Yeah, and like you said, I like the way it's a conversation starter. If you see colic, it's a conversation starter. It's
Yes.
not I treat colic, because I don't. I never have. I don't even know how to. I locate, analyze, and correct verbal subluxations, and when I do that, things like that, my experience has shown me they get better, and that doesn't mean there may not be other interventions that may be necessary also for that specific condition. But I know that their body's going to function at a higher level when I do what I'm trained to do.
Exactly. Exactly. My last question today is really, what do you wish every chiropractor, and because you work with students, what do you wish every chiropractic student knew about chiropractic and sharing it with the world?
Wow.
That's a big one.
I didn't know we were going to go there.
Yeah.
What do I wish? Here's what I wish they knew. that their job is not to help everybody in the sense that I'm responsible if X, Y, and Z gets better or doesn't get better.
Yeah.
Because I'm not. It's above my pay grade. I am not responsible if their lower back pain gets better or doesn't. I'm not responsible if their blood pressure normalizes or doesn't. That's not my responsibility. My responsibility is very simple: locate, analyze, correct vertebral subluxation, because subluxation in and of itself is a detriment to a person's overall health, life, and quality of life. And how that plays out in each individual is going to manifest itself differently. And when I see chiropractors and students thinking as somebody comes in with low back pain, I got to treat that low back pain. No, you don't. You don't. If I'm going to be successful in practice and I'm going to be able to make a living, I got to treat X, Y, and Z. No, you don't. Stay focused on what you are trained to do and allow the human body to express itself to its fullest potential. And you have done your job, even if that back pain doesn't get better. If you can objectively show that you have reduced the subluxation and the back pain's still there, you've done your job. Do not beat yourself up. You have done what you were trained to do and what you told the patient you were doing. And maybe that patient needs some other intervention for that back pain. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's why many chiropractors, they just take responsibility for the condition, and then they end up adding things to their practice to treat the condition because they've taken responsibility for the condition. So the adjustment doesn't always work. So I'm going to have stim and I'm going to have cryotherapy because that will help with the back pain too. So they've added things to their practice that are back pain or musculoskeletal focused because they took the responsibility for that. And I'm saying don't take the responsibility for that.
Yeah. I love how you said above my pay grade.
Yeah.
That's a really good thing to remember. Like, what are we actually doing? And like you said, what is my responsibility? And getting clear on that is important for all of us.
Agreed.
So thank you for sharing today. And I know that this is going to be a really wonderful episode for everybody who maybe isn't really clear on what their responsibility is, or needs that reminder, or needs to know for the first time what is chiropractic. So thank you for sharing today.
And my pleasure. It's been my professional lifetime goal. So thank you for having me. This was a blast.
Awesome.